Before we start talking about how to get rid of resentment and disappointment, I will, however, start with relationships from its very nature. What a relationship between people is, how it is built, what it is. A relationship is not just a conversation. We have a mental body. The mental body has threads that connect us to other people. These are real threads. This is not some fantasy, you know. For example, if a son gets sick, the mother feels it, she worries. I will tell you more. When a child becomes ill, when a child is sick, the mother sometimes does not worry. It means that her heart energy is enough to help. But if she does worry, it means she doesn't have enough strength. That is, worrying itself indicates that something else needs to be done. So, worrying is not helping. It does not mean to help. You need to do something. And what do you need to do? You have to get strength from somewhere. So, if you lack the strength to help someone close, you need to get strength. You see, we're talking about relationship with a sick child. It's not a relationship with a sick child, but with your life. Because if you lack strength for someone, get that strength. You have to learn where strength comes from. Suppose you don't know that strength is taken from nature, from good people. Now I'm trying to be a kind person. And if I succeed, then you'll be filled with strength that will enable you to build relationships. For instance, someone, while listening to the lecture, might forgive. That is, you listen to the lecture and bam, you've forgiven. Because you're filled with strength. We are connected with other people. These connections can carry negative energy. This means resentment, tension, disappointment, animosity towards someone. It means the connections have negative energy. What to do? People try to change relationships. But if you could change relationships, you would have already done so. People often try to do this through conversation. But if you could change relationships, they would have changed even without talking. If you try to change relationships through words, you usually fail. A conflict arises. Why? Because relationships reside in the heart. A person once asked me, why can't I speak with my close one? I just can't converse. Well, because your relationship is messed up. He replies, well, what does that mean exactly? I don't think the person wants to listen to me. I told him, they can't listen to you because there's pain between you. Person asked, well, explain, what does that mean? Lecturer, it means that this thread between you is polluted. Often we can't even think about a person, let alone talk to them. It's so unpleasant. Such unpleasant energy comes from the person. So what do people usually do? They try to fix the relationship through conversation. But that's the wrong mindset. One should start by fixing the relationship through prayer. You first pray, draw energy from the Lord, and then bam. You feel better in the heart. You think good of the person in your heart. You have a good feeling about the person in your heart. Check how they feel. Text to the person, I forgave you, let's talk. If one reacts well, it means their heart has also changed, and then you can start a conversation. Conversations should always be built on the foundation of relationships. And relationships aren't created through conversation, as some believe. Relationships are forged first by a person's inner strength and then by prayer. Here's an example. Let's say your child is getting fussy. You try talking to them, the child gets even more fussy. You say, we have no connection with them. Lecturer, the connection is not the issue here. Children are fussy because they are either sick, tired from school, or hungry. In other words, they are fussy because they are out of energy. But if you feed your children, take them outside, replenish their energy, put the child to bed, then, after sleeping, the child becomes so good and happy. And you see, you have a good relationship with them, right? So you say, we have a bad relationship with you. The child says, how's it bad? Mom, I have a good relationship. Lecturer. So the relationship actually is not the issue. Your child just had no energy. Let's say a woman has her period, and the husband comes up, tries to build a relationship with her during that time. But you need to understand how she feels at that time. Maybe she can't build relationships with anyone at all. Maybe it's really hard for her. In that case, don't try to clarify things with her. Or let's say a husband. Often, a wife demands love from her husband when he comes home from work. He comes from work, he's tired. What should be done? First, let him rest, then ask about something and clarify the relationship. Similarly, don't do this when someone's eating. Suppose someone is eating and is being filled with strength. Don't try to sort things out with them at that time. It will lead to a problem. In other words, if you want to build a relationship with someone, understand two things. First, relationships aren't built during a conversation. They are built during the time when we say, I wish everyone happiness, in the time of prayer, in the time of your influencing these relationships through the heart, because the relationship is in the heart. It is between the two of you. Something like this. The song goes, don't hurt the ones you love with reproaches. For the sake of sublime love, we must remember that our loved ones are bound to us for life by an invisible thread, by an unseen thread, our loved ones. Lecturer, bound by an invisible thread. Let's close our eyes now and remember our dear ones. I remember light feelings and happy memories, so this thread is clean. The relationship is pure. We're talking about relationships, right? Maybe you haven't communicated with someone for 5 years, but if you have happy memories of them, it means they have a good feeling about you and you about them. To you and from you to them. Because often people don't know what kind of relationship they have with another person. You feel good about them and they feel good about you because there's a happy memory of them. That means the relationship is pure. If you feel tension, resentment, disappointment in someone or something else, then destiny is negatively affecting your relationship. Destiny does so, because you might say, what's destiny got to do with it? He's behaving improperly on his own. You see, a person is a test, an embodiment of your destiny. Two people met, one is wise, and the other is an ordinary person. The wise man asked, who surrounds you? The ordinary man replied, I am surrounded by both good and bad people. Some are very good, others are very bad. Then the ordinary man asked the wise one, and who surrounds you? The wise man responded, only my destiny surrounds me. Everyone around me is a manifestation of my destiny. If someone treats me poorly, that's how it's destined to be. And I accept it. But to mend relationships, you first need to accept them. Meaning, if it's my destiny, I accept it. It's always easier to bear what's yours. So, the wise man said that no one surrounds him but his destiny. The ordinary man said there are good people and bad people around him. That is, wisdom lies in the fact that a person is surrounded only by their fate. It's an interesting fact, when destiny deteriorates, the bonds between people also break. You see, the girl said, I'm confused. And I see that her destiny is so heavy that it's tearing the relationship apart. I say, thank God you're just confused. She says, no, it's all over now. In other words, destiny influenced the relationship so strongly that the thread snapped. Fate acts in this way, but it can be done differently if one possesses knowledge. That's what we're diving into right now, trying to grasp these concepts. Maybe you've already heard in my lectures where I discuss this. But how deep is your understanding? If you still get offended by people, feeling they treat you unfairly or unjustly, then it means you haven't truly grasped the essence of the matter. Because if someone treats me not the way I like and I understand it's my fate, then I can mend the relationship. Because I'm destined to go through this. Let's say a woman carries her child. The child is heavy. Her friend comes up and asks, how long have you been carrying him? She replies, I've been carrying him for 2 hours already. Is it tough? She says, my arms are tired. Truly, I'm weary from holding him. Well, then put him down. No, I'll continue to carry him. Why? Because he's my child. But you feel bad when carrying him, right? No, I feel good even if my arms are tired. Why? Because he's my child. Look, when our mouth smells bad, when it's dirty, we don't throw our teeth out. Just because they smell bad, I hate them. I'm fed up. I can't bear living like this. And the teeth are tossed out. Why? Because they are your teeth. But if a close person who's with you is your fate, and you've realized that, then all problems are solved. Life becomes instantly easier. Why? Because that's my destiny. Why worry? Everything's fine. The teeth are mine, the child is mine, the husband is mine, that's it. But living this way is unbearable. That's how fate acts. If only you knew, if you could see how fate, being the energy of time, disrupts relationships. It's disrupting the relationship right now, like in your case, young lady. Right now, it's fate at play, not a person. The person is not bad, it's meant by destiny. Then everything starts to mend. Why? Because you start to act. You realize that the person is influenced by fate. They might act wrongly, but it's okay, I'll pray. There are two things one should do to mend a relationship. First, they need to be filled with strength. We draw strength from good people, from nature, and from God. Fill yourself with strength, talk to a friend who empowers you, or go somewhere else. Maybe to a theater, if you love how they sing or dance there, like Swan Lake, it's so beautiful. And you get energized, life becomes easier. So a person should learn to draw strength from somewhere. When a person runs in nature or does exercise, they're filled with energy from the environment. And once you're filled with energy, it becomes easier to forgive another person. To forgive means to feel fulfilled near that person. That's it. Forgiving isn't something elusive. It's simply about being fulfilled. Say, for instance, it's a woman's birthday today. On her birthday, her child gets a bad grade. Such a gift on her birthday, on her special day. Yet there are so many friends, so many presents, so much love. And she thinks it's not a big deal. Why did she forgive? Because she's fulfilled, she has enough strength, she has many friends, many gifts. She has enough happiness even without that. She's filled with it. Now the next day she recalls the child's poor grade and starts yelling. You ruined my birthday. Why did she suddenly get upset, not on the actual birthday? Because the next day she didn't have enough strength to forgive for that act. You see, it turns out resentment doesn't mean anything but being fulfilled. If a person has enough strength, they forgive. I have this acquaintance, I'm about to share an extreme case. He held a very high position in society. He was in charge of land issues in Moscow, so he had a high-ranking job. He even had his own cottage settlement, meaning he lived well, and his partner betrayed him. As a result, he lost everything, his job, his wealth, everything. But he found God, began attending lectures, studied how to live right, learned a lot about life, and he doesn't accept the very idea that he was unlucky in life. He believes that everything's great in his life and that this event helped him understand a lot of good things. Yet he couldn't forgive his friend. Now, listen carefully to what happened next. I have this group of my friends, and we often pray together, loudly reciting our prayers. He joined such a prayer session and spent 2 hours with us reciting the prayers. And after the prayer, we discussed the process. We asked, so how did it go for you? I asked him and he replied, oh, I forgave. It doesn't mean he was sitting there trying to forgive through prayer. He didn't really do anything like that. He just prayed. But after the prayer, he remembered. And the prayer gave him such a fullness inside that the loss he had experienced in life from that relationship was forgotten. He received so much inner happiness that this loss was forgotten. Now let's take a slightly different scenario. Let's say it doesn't get forgotten. You might be getting a lot of happiness, a lot of everything, but it doesn't fade. Why doesn't it get forgotten? Because perhaps you don't live that way. You're not set up like that. There's a notion called love faith. You can love someone, but if you start believing not in God, but in a person, that's love faith. You will remember that loss your whole life because faith implies an eternal bond. We shouldn't form eternal bonds with people. People won't always be in our lives. Today someone's here, and tomorrow they might just depart this life. We'll be separated anyway. But if someone has love faith, others can't withstand such love. Like in the song, she believed, and nothing more. Gardens bloom once a year. You know that song, right? Believed in a person. You shouldn't believe in a person, just trust them. Treat them well, live together, be loyal. That's a different thing. But what's love, faith? That's what always ruins relationships, because no one can withstand that. At one of my lectures, a woman jumped up saying, "Oleg Gennadievich, save me, I believe in you." And I said, "I'm not God, you've confused me with someone else." "Sit down," I told her. "Calm down, you're behaving improperly." I began to explain to her. Inside your footprints lies the ice of separation. But turn your footprints back. Through strangers' traces, through distances, by one's own tears, by one's own steps. That's love, faith. You may live your whole life without forgiving. If someone believes, but not in God, they can't be fulfilled. There's nothing to fill them with, because faith means a very strong conviction that this is precisely what will fulfill me in the end. Such a strong conviction should only be towards God, not towards a son, a daughter, a husband, a father, or a mother, only towards God. Because if someone believes in a person and loses that person, they also lose their life. All love-based suicides mean love faith. A person loses themselves, they ruin their life if they believed in a person. Love, in general, is the strongest emotion that prompts one to believe. Let's say a baby is born and the baby forms very pure relationships with the mother. This purity is very alluring. When a mother looks at her child, she can't help but believe in them. But this faith needs to be controlled. One must realize that if you deeply believe in a child, then you'll lose them. Because the child will start becoming very capricious, selfish, proud, since they receive all the attention. After all, children have a very weak mind. They behave as you allow them to.
Og addresses the audience. Better when you film me or take pictures, turn off the flash. It blinds me. Good.
In this case, the system doesn't work. We discussed that if you want to improve relations, then first enrich yourself. And then pray to feel peace in your heart about these relationships first of all. Then, in the second stage of prayer, you'll feel that you can communicate with this person. And in the third stage, they will start communicating with you. Let's say a dear one left you, abandoned you. You can't even think of them. It was that unpleasant. They betrayed you, acted so poorly towards you that you can't even think of them, let alone talk to them. And you think, why did I choose this person? I was so wrong. It's an illusion. Your own fate was at work. The person merely fulfilled its will. If you think you're not fulfilling the will of fate of other people, then you're deeply mistaken on this matter. Often you're convinced that you need to say something to this person, do something for them, and it causes great pain. This is how their fate acts. It makes you do it. You're simply sure you have to. And the person suffers. We all act this way in the world. We act under the influence of our dear one's fate. But if you want to bring someone back, you need knowledge. The knowledge is that the person was simply under the influence of destiny. And your resentment towards them is also your fate. You just need, first of all, come to your senses. You need to fill up first. Start living a healthy lifestyle, being active outdoors, swimming, go to a river, to a forest. Even if a person can't, let's say, run, they should walk in nature, fill up. Nature replenishes a person. What does it fill with? The sun fills with joy. Even the word joy in Russian means the sun is giving. Joy is a gift from the sun. Beauty itself comes from the word sun. Beauty sounds similar to red in Russian, a beautiful girl with long braids. Red sounds similar to beautiful in Russian, which means sunny. It is a similar situation with wonderful. In many languages it sounds similar. For example, in Sanskrit, the word lal means beloved and also stands for sunny. You understand? The sun gives beauty to people, bestows joy, and gives zest for life. Earth provides tranquility. When one connects with the earth, they find calm. Fresh air offers vigor and strength. If one feels weak, they need fresh air. Water gives harmony to a person. They harmonize with everything they have in life when they interact with water. These are divine energies. All these powers come from God. God gifted us all these elements of nature so that we could harness their power. This is necessary to get strength. But people have forgotten this. They live in their homes, in these birdhouses. They don't venture out to the trees, the birds' nature, and thus don't recharge. As a result, many divorces. Why? Because there isn't enough energy to nurture relationships. A relationship means connection, and one must continually invest energy into this connection. And if you're out of energy, then you start getting nervous and lash out at your loved ones. But you must learn to switch your focus. Switch to nature or to your faith. If you can't do that, then you can't conquer relationships. You don't have the strength. Let's say there's destiny. It operates, but one needs to learn to switch focus. That's what relationships mean. Switching focus when tired. Song. And in the golden ocean of love, boundless, all days flow like fish in unearthly radiance. And I watch your ships without blinking. And I dive into this world, this moment, this hour. Can you switch focus? You see a situation, it's a challenging situation for you. You're tired, it's been a long day, there's too much work. If not, it means you lack faith. It means you don't have that source that would allow you to overcome fate. Faith means memory, it's in the memory. Memory means connection. If you recall something at a time when you're struggling, it means you're protected. So, when you have difficult relationships, you just remember something. You're protected, you understand? But if one can't recall the good, they are not protected. They will be destroyed by fate. Relationships, they're in the heart, you understand? And one should choose those relationships in their heart that empower them, not the ones that break them. For instance, what news do you watch? Mostly bad ones. And do you gain strength from these news? No. But if you only watched good news, you'd overcome your entire fate. Often, people just lead the wrong way of life, and therefore they can't cope with basic things, like being in a bad mood. What should one do? You need to focus on what you believe in at that moment, and instantly you'll gain strength. But if a person believes in nothing, has no faith, they don't feel happiness. Faith means the ability to draw happiness from somewhere. If you lack any higher feelings, you don't believe in nature or in good people or in the Lord, no divine energies come to you, it means you're doomed to fail in life. Because your relationship with this world will be poor. You don't have the strength. Song. And all around is grace, nothing inside. And all around is beauty, can't see a thing. And everyone shouts, hooray! And they all run forward. And above all this, a new day rises. Do you see this day? The song continues. The house stands, the lights on, the distance is visible from the window. So where did this sadness come from? And you seem alive and well, and you seem to live without trouble. So where did this sadness come from? Where did this sadness come from? It comes from the fact that you don't know how to switch your mindset. You're heavily dependent on circumstances. For you, circumstances matter more than your destiny. Be stronger. Strength means memory, means faith. You need to grasp this. If you can't shift to what overcomes your fate, it means your faith in purity and strength and beauty is very weak. And you can't rely on any relationships. Because a relationship always means just one thing, to give something. Why do people get angry at each other? Because they have nothing to give. If you expect a loved one to keep giving to you, it's a futile waste of time and energy. People always want to receive from one another. Look at your husband or wife. What do you want from them? Happiness. We only want happiness. But if a person isn't happy, has no strength, would you be happy with them? No. You start arguing with them. Why? Because they're feeling down. If the person was feeling good and treated you kindly, would you be unhappy? You understand? They fear you, fear a relationship with you. Why? Because they've had experience before. They don't believe in your relationship. They have a negative experience. Where does that come from? From your fatigue. You felt down and they wanted happiness from you. That's aggression. Wanting happiness from someone is pure aggression. It's just a flawed way of thinking. Happiness should be given away, but we don't want to, we want to take. And this mindset spoils relationships from the start. We lose relationships with our loved ones because we are determined this way. It's in our nature. We want happiness for ourselves. It's just how we're built. And that's why we're doomed to have bad relationships from the outset. We want happiness. Our close ones can't give it. They're in pain, they're down, they're in a bad mood. So the conclusion is they don't love me. Well, then no one loves anyone in this world, because living in this world is very tough for everyone. Sometimes we feel down. Of course, sometimes it's good too. And that's normal too, remember that. Let's say something really good happened between you and your close one. Remember it. Remember, and then when things get tough, recall all that. And you'll overcome the rough patch in the relationship. I gaze at you like in a mirror until I'm dizzy, and in it I see my love and I think of it. Let's not see the minor details in the mirror reflection. Love can be long-lasting, but life is even longer. Let's not see the trivialities in the mirror reflection. Love can be long-lasting, so why isn't it long-lasting? We saw the trivialities in the mirror reflection and made them significant. So that's the main point. We forgot that we lived together for a long time. I forgot how kindly he treated me. I just forgot. Why? Because I gave too much meaning to trivial things. Of course, it's not that trivial, Oleg Gennadievich, but it's not so significant either, you understand? Not enough to destroy a shared life. There's no faith, meaning there's no proper formation in the heart, how to behave, how to relate to everything. We give too much importance to what we see in relationships. He betrayed me, he doesn't love me, and so on. We give these things too much weight. Sometimes you haven't even gotten to know someone properly, but you've already pushed him away. Why? Because there's a fear about relationships. You fear, what if it's like this for the rest of my life? I can't handle it. That's the wrong mindset. One must learn to be fulfilled. That's the main thing in a person's life. Learn to be fulfilled. Become strong enough to not want anything from anyone. We can experience happiness from relationships, and this can be done in only one way. Give so much happiness that the other person feels gratitude and relaxes. And they will return to you what you deserve. That's it. There are no other options, you understand? If we expect something else, we won't find happiness in our lives, because we're dealing with our destiny. Look, there's my destiny standing there. It can either torment me or bring me happiness, I don't know. Today it might bring happiness. Tomorrow it might start tormenting. That's my destiny. But if I always fulfill it, why would destiny torment me? Why does someone close to me torment me? It's because they lack happiness and they try to extract it from you. That's it. Every family conflict, every scandals happen only because of this. Why do people fight? They say, no, you give me happiness. No, you give me happiness. That's the crux of all the arguments. It's your fault. No, it's your fault. Meaning, you aren't giving me happiness. No, you aren't giving me happiness. That's it. That's why they argue. But if someone is fulfilled, why would they argue? Let's say, my wife decides not to cook for me today. I'm contented. Would I argue with her? I'd approach her and ask, everything is okay with you? She says everything's fine. I ask, couldn't cook today? She says, You see, she should also trust you. When you ask like that, she's like, what do you want from me? What are you after? She needs to trust that you truly don't wish her any harm, that you aren't holding a grudge because she didn't cook. At some point, my wife started to trust me. But first, I need to be self-sufficient. If she does something unexpected, I should first understand I need to be self-sufficient. I need to be strong internally. When she does something off, I need to understand why. And there's always a reason, you understand? We aren't surrounded by a madhouse. Imagine living in a mental asylum, and someone just screams at you without reason. No particular reason. But we don't live in an asylum. We're surrounded by normal people, which means there's a reason, but we don't know that reason. We think there's no reason. You didn't bring me happiness. There's no reason at all. There is a reason and there's only one. For him, the reason is lack of strength, and various types of strength exist. For you, the second reason is this is how your own fate operates, and it will torment you through your loved ones to ensure we evolve, to make us change. You might say, I can't bear this. Indeed, you might not be able to now, but you will if you become stronger. That's the mindset, you understand? Because people get disillusioned. What does disillusionment mean? Why do we become disillusioned with someone? Because we can't tolerate it, that's all. But if you fill yourself more, you can bear it. I'm sure there are people here who started working on themselves. I've been informed about it. They started changing their lives. And the result? You began to tolerate more. You've expanded your horizons in relationships. Raise your hand, those who now have a greater ability to tolerate their loved ones. You're living rightly, that's it. More strength means more capacity to bear. So no disillusionment then. What is disillusionment? I simply don't have the strength, Oleg Gennadievich. I just can't live with this person. All right, if you don't have the strength to live with this person, go and gather your strength. I can't, that's all. You see, the problem isn't that you can't live with someone. The problem is that your mind is too focused on that person. You can't detach from them, that's the issue. You want to draw strength only from them, and that's it. No other options. If they don't give you strength, then it's over. Goodbye. This is called attachment. Like, it's bad to be an addict, right? A person is addicted to drugs. They want happiness from just one thing. No drugs, no happiness. But we all are addicts. We're addicts of relationships, you understand? We get attached thinking this person must absolutely do this for me in life. Why necessarily? Because without it, you can't go on living, you understand? All right, try getting it from somewhere else. I can't, Oleg Gennadievich, I can't have a child from anyone but my husband. These things happen. He doesn't want kids. I can't, Oleg Gennadievich, get this from another source. I need it only from him. All right, let's turn to the sacred scriptures. So a man doesn't want kids. What to do? We need to understand his nature, who this man is, how he functions, what he wants, what he doesn't. Now, if a woman desires something, can it be denied? She'll want it her whole life and needs to have it, or she'll just perish. She desires something, and that's it. She's a woman. She was born for her desires to be fulfilled, period. That's why women have such strong desires. A woman in general doesn't impose herself on anyone. They impose themselves on her. It's not that she doesn't want to get married. She does. And that's why everyone flocks to her. It's the power of desire. A woman's desire is very strong, very. A woman thinks her husband has the same system, the same situation. If he doesn't want kids, that's it. Not at all. Men's desires fade. My wife, for example, heard this in a lecture. Started applying it in life. I say, I want something. She says, all right, we'll do it. Several times like that, she goes, sure, definitely, everything will be done. A few months passed. She asked me, you wanted that, do you still want it? I say, no. I knew it, that's why I didn't do it. She got it from the lecture. She just distracts me a bit, and that's it, I then forget. Men's desires simply fade. Today he wants one thing. Tomorrow he changes his mind. That's it. Now he wants something else. A woman can't forget her desires. So the scriptures say, just fill your husband with the energy of love. So the husband doesn't want kids. Start serving him, care for him, fill him up. You say, I have nothing to fill him with. I'm running on empty. All right, then you need nature, kind people, God. Fill yourself up, and once you're filled, fill up your husband. Know that once he's sufficiently filled, gratitude will arise in his heart. What is a man's gratitude? So when a man is grateful, what does he do? What? Ladies, do you know what male gratitude is? No idea? All right, let me explain. A man's gratitude means doing what the woman wants. That's how a man's gratitude works. He sings, what can I gift you, my dear? How can I thank fate for bringing you into my life? That's how a man's heart works. It has a very grateful nature. A man might give away all his money, for instance, and never think of it again. A woman might also give away all her money, but she'll certainly remember doing so more than once. But the man might give away all his money and forget entirely. Can you imagine, ladies? He can completely forget. And you could take as much money as you want from a grateful man, and everything will be good, no problems. Imagine how great it is, ladies, when a man is grateful. That's the main challenge, you understand? Make a person grateful, and he'll ask, what can I gift you? And you don't have to immediately shout, a son, a son. Don't do that. Instead say, think for yourself, what do I want most right now? And he might say, what, a child perhaps? If he says a child perhaps, you should tell him, thank you for those words, even though no actual promise has been made. But if he said it like that, let him follow through. You should know how to treat a man just right. If a man promised something, even if he hasn't made a promise but you thought he did, he's bound to deliver laughs. That's how men are wired, you understand? So, earn that child genuinely. Fate just hasn't granted it to you. Don't lose hope. In relationships, there are two scenarios. The first one is disappointment. Disappointment is like the laziness of the soul. Let's say someone decided to work to dig a hole. They dug and dug, then realized they couldn't dig anymore, and got disappointed. Then their employer comes and asks, where's the hole? And they replied that it was tough to dig and they didn't manage to. Then the employer tells them to leave. You won't get any money. They got disappointed, but what should they have done? Keep digging. Same in relationships. If you're disappointed in your loved one, it simply means you lack strength. Go, start running, wish everyone happiness, visit temples, mingle with good people. Recharge yourself, conquer the feeling of I can't, I'm disappointed, I'm weak, and so on. Then move on with life. I don't trust this person. A student approached a teacher saying, I don't trust this person. But being a student means the desire to change. They say, I don't trust this person, what should I do? Which means he wants to change. The teacher replied, you don't trust him because you haven't seen his purity, his beauty, or any good in him. Why? Because you've done nothing for him. Go, start serving him. Do something nice for him. Serving means greeting a person warmly, expressing gratitude, maybe to give a small gift, like a candy. Basically, do something good for that person. At that moment, you'll see gratitude in their eyes. Maybe not immediately. Perhaps they are really upset with you. You give a candy, they might take it or might not. It's okay, keep trying. I can't go on. Fine, you might be exhausted. Recharge yourself, then approach the person again with a candy. And so on. In time, even if they never take your candy, they'll still hold warmth for you in their heart. If it seems impossible, then perhaps you lack strength. Recharge yourself from nature and from good people. And when in your heart you feel that you have the strength, then it becomes possible. You understand? Do you get what I'm saying or not? Sometimes a person doesn't want to build a relationship with you. Maybe they've had a negative experience, but change that experience in their heart. Be there for them. And if you don't want to build a relationship with someone because they've wronged you, then punish them. To punish is also a form of relationship. It's also love. Punish them. If you don't want to see someone because they've wronged you, then don't look at them. That's fine. But that's also a form of relationship. It's called punishment. Punishment is also love. Hating someone is not a way to live because through that hatred, bad fate will come your way. If you hate someone, expect your bad fortune. Hatred isn't a way to live, but punishing is. Punishing harshly is also a way to live. Even capital punishment as a penalty is a way to live. Hating is not a way to live. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, we're always building relationships with people. You might ask, how can one forgive? Sometimes one hasn't punished another person, so they can't forgive, but punish them first, then forgive. Let's say someone close to you hasn't paid back a large sum of money. Punish them. If you can't forgive, either punish them or pray, then forgive. Meaning, some action towards a person is necessary. Love means taking action. You need to do something. If you do nothing, then it will remain as it is. You have to do something, either punish or pray, but definitely take some action. If you harbor resentment towards someone in your heart, it will ruin your life for sure. Because it's through resentment that evil forces act. You don't allow harm if you hold no resentment towards anyone in this world. No one can then violate you. Violence occurs when resentment arises. Even if someone wants to kill you, putting a knife to your stomach, they should either see fear in your eyes, a sense of injustice, resentment, malice, or some other negative emotion that allows them to carry out their mission. But if a person radiates only kindness, love, purity, and acceptance, they won't be harmed. For that, reasons from one's own heart are needed. Action is always taken by a person only because they are inspired. There are reasons to the point that the knife might fall out of the hand because there is no justification. That's how the energy emitted by holy people works. For instance, a tiger can't eat a holy person because no fear, malice, or hostility emanates from them. From them, only love radiates, and that's why the tiger doesn't eat the holy person. Imagine it starts to lick them like its own cub. After all, it's not that a tiger eats everyone it sees. It has cubs that it loves. It has a tigress whom it loves, meaning it also has kind feelings. Even a tiger has kind feelings, let alone any human. You say that a person is worse than a tiger. That's not possible. If God gave a person a human body, it means they are not worse. They have their own feelings. You'd argue that sometimes people just kill others for no reason. No, not without a reason. There is always a reason. Maybe it's political relations, a sense of duty to the homeland, or loyalty to a leader. People can go to war, kill each other. There are reasons. It's not like they do it out of the blue. But if your inner strength is stronger than this reason, then you won't be killed. I'm talking about extreme cases right now. I'm telling you things that will seem miraculous to you. Should I provide examples in that case? There are examples in the Holy Scriptures. We know thousands of examples where people knelt before holy men, thousands of examples of repenting for their committed sins, and so on. We know the example, let's say, of Muhammad's companion Abu Bakr. That's the first example. The second example is when Omar came to the Prophet intending to kill him with a sword, and when his guard said he wouldn't let him approach the Prophet with a sword. Then the Prophet himself opened the door and said, "Let him in with the sword." The Prophet himself opened the door. When the man entered, the Prophet told him, "I know you've come to kill me. You can complete your mission." And was he able to do it? No. Why couldn't he do it? Because there was no reason? What he imagined in his mind, he didn't see it in the person while communicating. He saw in him the power to give love. As a result, he laid down his sword and also his life before him. He then became the second caliph, a viceroy. You understand? We're talking about extreme cases here. It's not our situation. We may never be able to have that kind of power in our lives so that the person who wants to kill us doesn't do it. We may never have that, but we need to understand how the system works. Our life situations are way simpler after all. If we can't forgive, it means there's no strength. Divert your attention from the person. Remember, destiny acts in this way. First, it brings pain to a person. Pain attracts memory. The memory focuses on the pain. And when a person can't divert themselves from the source of pain, that's it, they're defeated. The only thing you need to do, switch your focus from the source of pain to the source of happiness. Stop thinking about the one who hurt you. If you want to forgive, get out of this situation, calm down, start sleeping. You have sleepless nights right now. You need to understand the cause. You're focused on the source of the pain. You're focused on the feeling of injustice. That's where the problem lies. It's destiny acting. I can't say that this is a good act. Some people think it's right for me to think about who left me. But it's not right, even if you do realize it's wrong, that you're ruining your life thinking about the problem, the person who left you. The trouble, for example, some legal issues or something. Just because you think about it all the time doesn't mean you're helping to solve the problem. It means you're making the situation worse. You need to divert from it to recharge yourself. And even if they throw you in jail, I'm talking about extreme cases here. You can fill yourself up so much that you'll find peace in your heart regarding this event. And if you're destined to be imprisoned, God will give you the knowledge of why and how it will help you as a result of this peace of mind. And if there's any chance for you not to be imprisoned, you won't be. Raise your hand. Who has had such a situation in life that you prayed, reached peace of mind, and you avoided a serious problem? You avoided trouble. You avoided violence. Here you go. There are such people here in the hall. That's how it all works. So take your mind off the problem. If you're holding a grudge, if you can't forgive someone, understand this. It means you're chained to destiny by the shackles of your memory. Make yourself do it. Quotes a song by Ed Rosenbaum. Sadness has come. I'll go for a walk. I have no one to share it with. I'll walk the Neverland which I love. What am I doing during this time? I fill myself with the nature of St. Petersburg, the land of Neva. I'm filling myself up with its beauty, with its canals, bridges, and so on. I'm gathering strength during this time. This is the right thinking. Wrong thinking. When you, on the contrary, focus on what is destroying you, it's wrong thinking. You need to take your mind off all things. Divert yourself. Think about something else, And then everything will be all right in your life. Then you'll have strength. Let's say a close one has taken offense. If you have the strength, you can make it so the person doesn't take offense. For that, you need to have enough inner joy and positive feelings towards that person. And then everything can be fixed. Dawn is breaking. Do not cry in vain, Marianne. My swallow sweetheart, do not cry. Brown eyes from me, do not hide. You resent me. You are angry with me. Forgive me, since I am guilty, for my silly words.
The women thought, exactly, Oleg Gennadievich. That's right, this is how men should behave, right, from the audience. Yes.
And how should you behave? Exactly the same. But where does this nobility come from? Why did the man behave that way? He says, you resent me, you are angry with me. Does he think he's a fool or what? No. Does he think he's wrong? No. He still believes he's right. So why does he act like that? What's the reason? The reason is that he places his truth below love, below relationship. He starts behaving very nobly because he values the person more than his own truth in relation to them. That's called love. To walk up to a person to say simply, I'm sorry, not because you're at fault, but because you value the relationship more than your truth. Now ask yourself, do I value the relationship more than my truth in relation to them? Does my principle towards a person rank below or above the person? This is what destroys relationships. When the principle becomes much higher than the relationship, then the family breaks apart. Why has the principle become much higher than the relationship? What's the reason? We lack knowledge. We think, I'll ruin this relationship and I'll have an even better one. We always think that way. It's foolish thinking. How do you know if it will be better or worse? You don't know anything. Raise your hand. Who ruined a relationship and didn't end up better, but only worse? Look, many people raise their hands. Why do you think it'll be better for you? Not necessarily. People believe in a bright future. It's hard for me now. I'll kick them out and things will get easier. No, not at all. What's a principle? It's when someone betrays me, it happens. So a person betrayed, okay. How conscious was that person of their betrayal? Maybe they didn't even realize it at all. Why not ask them and see if they understood or not? Maybe they'll say they didn't. In that case, maybe it makes sense to forgive, to accept them, to help to understand the right way. Is that clear? Ahead, a bright path awaits. We'll walk it side by side. Many songs have been sung. How many more will we sing? Ahead is a bright path. A bright path. Ask me, why didn't people divorce in the past? Because they knew, unlike us, that a bright path lies ahead if we walk together. A bright path means God really appreciates it. God really loves it when people walk together. Even if it's hard for them, they later receive a reward in their hearts for it. They get as a reward a bright path, a bright destiny, a bright life. Do you get it? In other words, when people preserve their relationships, happy memories begin to appear in their hearts. They begin to understand each other deeper, feel each other more, and a bright path lies ahead. If we walk together, now ask me, if we don't walk together, what will the path be like? It might still be bright someday, but at first God will discipline you for it, and quite seriously. How many years? Who knows? God doesn't have a requirement for us to solve all issues in this life. He sees eternity in our lives. He grants us many lives ahead. Not so long ago, I found out in prayer something interesting about myself. I had to resolve one issue over 6 lifetimes. Do you get it? For 6 lifetimes, I was at the rock bottom of life because I made a mistake towards God.
And what was the issue?
You see, the most important question in life is about our relationship with holy people and the question of betrayal. 2 issues that can distance someone from God for a long time. The 2 most crucial questions. Remember that. 6 lifetimes. It's okay, I managed to pull through. God has all of eternity ahead. We are eternal, you understand? For Him, 6 lifetimes are a trifle. What's 6 lifetimes? Just 6 lifetimes. For us, it's not a trifle, right? So don't act foolishly if it's not a trifle. Try to preserve your family. If you didn't manage, it would not be the end of the world. God will forgive. You couldn't, but you tried, you prayed, and still couldn't. He will appreciate that. You might say, I only need this person. That's my gratitude. Just this person. That's it. Once a little girl started crying when I was handing out flowers. I ask, why are you crying? She says, I wanted a flower. I gave her one. She says, not that one. I say, all right, where's that flower? Let's swap. This girl wants this flower. We swapped, I gave her the flower. She took the flower but didn't smile. I ask, why aren't you smiling? She says, you gave this flower to the other lady first, not me. Why should I smile now? I ended up with a very stubborn little girl. I'm stuck, right? I can't make her happy because the moment has passed. Now I have 2 options. The first one, to understand that she's just a naive little girl, so her hurt feelings don't mean that much. But if I consider her very wise, then I'll be upset with her too. I'll start arguing, I returned the flower to you, why are you upset with me? A whole scene will unfold with this girl. Now the question immediately arises, do I have more brains than her or not? Often people think, if I apologize or smile at someone who's upset with me, it means I'm the foolish one and they're the smart one. It's all vice versa. If you apologize, you might look foolish at that moment. That's true. But you're smart, or rather sensible. And God's on your side. Remember, luck always follows the person who apologizes. Luck's always on their side, you understand? People might see you as a fool for apologizing. But luck and the Lord will never see you that way. Relationships with God are more vital than with people. Someone who apologizes always attracts luck into their life. But there are 2 ways to apologize. One way is to humiliate oneself. The other way is to uplift oneself. If you apologize with a pure, calm, kind heart, And even if they don't forgive you, you accept that. And treat that person kindly, then you've passed all your tests. Whatever the person punishes you for, they'll now punish themselves for it. There are instances when you've done everything right. You've been kind, you've tried to talk, and they still don't forgive. That's no longer your issue. And you'll feel that in your heart. So put in a lot of effort to apologize. Put in that effort, believe in the process. Because when you do it, it is not for the person, but foremost for God in your own heart. If you satisfy God in your heart, He'll forgive you. Because people represent our destiny. If we apologize and do it earnestly, even if they don't forgive, I'm still all right with that. Then there's peace, confidence, and strength in my heart. Should I then keep indulging that person? Not at all. Forgiving doesn't mean I'm demeaned. If you've apologized and someone tries to belittle you saying, you apologized to me. Yes, I apologized, so what? Now you owe me your entire life. You admitted you're bad, I'm good. Not at all. I apologize, but that doesn't mean I'm bad. It means I made a mistake. When someone apologizes, they're not admitting they're foolish, that they're bad or unworthy of respect. Don't see it that way. Apologizing means doing what God wants. And it signifies luck in a person's life. So, let's say two diplomats are standing and a war is about to break out between two countries. One diplomat says, "Forgive us for not understanding how to behave properly." That doesn't mean they've given in. Let's say another diplomat replies, "Then let's revisit the issue. Now you give us this and we give you nothing." Well, if you agree, and the diplomat responds, "I just want you to forgive us for not understanding how to speak to you properly." And if the other side says, "We forgive you," then there won't be a war, no casualties. You understand? No bloodshed, no women's suffering, no women's tears. Only because the diplomat knows he should always and everywhere ask for forgiveness under any circumstances. When you ask for forgiveness, what do you achieve in life? Freedom from a cruel fate. When should a person not ask for forgiveness? When punishing someone. Let's say someone insulted a holy person and then was slapped on the face by someone giving them a point face massage. Should they apologize? No. Why? Because after all, nothing bad happened. What bad occurred? I simply returned to you what's yours. That's it. I feel good about you. I have nothing against you. Once, someone deeply insulted my mentor. My mentor, he's Indian, and his students he has many formed a tight circle around that person's house. Those people called the police, and the police arrived asking, "Why are you standing here?" They said, "We like it here, so we are standing." Police asked, "Do you intend to cause harm?" Students, "We don't want anything, we just like standing here." Police, "So, what's the reason?" Students, "The reason is that these people insulted our mentor." The officer said, "All right, stand as long as there's no fighting," and he left. So, there's assurance in front of the police, but do those people inside the encircled house have assurance? No, because they've acted maliciously. And how did they pay for this treachery? With fear. They never insulted my mentor again, even though no one hurt them. Just their house was surrounded, that's all. Is it pleasant when your home is surrounded by people who don't like you? Very unpleasant, right? That's enough. What are we talking about now? About the times when there's no need to apologize. If you have to punish someone, let's say when someone insulted your mentor, you're the one who should punish this person. Specifically you, no one else. If someone needs to punish someone, they shouldn't apologize, but there are exceptions. Let's say an elder insults another elder. Don't interfere, it's not your business. If you interfere, you're just degrading. By defending one elder, you insult the other one. It's a no-win situation. You should just pray. So we're talking about relationships here. The main problem in this world is that people don't know what a relationship really is. They think that A relationship means feeling good with someone and trying to establish a good relationship. If you feel good with someone, first of all, it means you have a period of good faith. And secondly, this good faith is acting through this person. Now the question arises, will you always have this good faith? No. This means that a time will come when you won't have this good feeling towards this person, but people believe it will last forever. Just because I have a good feeling, I like being with this person, it doesn't mean it will always be like this. Now, the question arises, is there really no good relationship with anyone? There are relationships. It's just that what's perceived as a good relationship isn't really one. A good relationship means I invest energy in a person, serve them, regardless of whether they behave well or badly, right or wrong, treat me well or poorly, I still invest energy in them. And this is what we call relationships, you understand? You see, when I do this, there comes a time when that person becomes truly grateful to me for everything that's happened. And now the relationship becomes reciprocal. So how do I build relationships with people? I just understand what relationships are. It's always about purifying the heart. There's a thread between us. It might be tarnished due to bad faith, or it might be clean because of good faith. So what are relationships? I'm always purifying my faith, no matter how and with whom the relationships are. I always try to improve them. This stance always leads to gratitude and a blessed faith. There's no other way. But mending relationships doesn't always mean to adjust to the other person. I repeat, hear me out, sometimes love means punishment. Sometimes you can even distance yourself from someone and not talk to them. That's still a relationship. Sometimes we need to make it so that the person gains knowledge, and for that knowledge, we might need to distance ourselves. So the person has to understand something. Who should one distance themselves from? From someone who's grateful to you. You can only educate someone who's thankful to you. If you've invested so much in a relationship that fate applauds you, then you can educate the other person in your relationship. If fate hasn't yet commended you and it's tormenting you through that person, you can't educate them. So you're trying to educate someone who treats you poorly. There's no point, it's fate disciplining you. So what should you do? Either distance yourself if you don't have the strength, or when you have the strength, be kind to that person. Or if it's time to educate them, do it. But when can one educate? When there's more kindness. You see, when you invest kindness into someone, you earn the right to guide them. Now, why do parents have the right to guide their children? Because they gifted them life. Can you imagine quite something, gifting life? That's their right, right? Now, let's say there's some random boy. You approach him and say, don't do that. Do you have a right to say that? No. Why? Because you didn't gift him anything. Let's say there's a mischievous boy and you, an adult, can approach him and ask, what's your name? Gift him your kindness. What's your name? Vasya. All right, Vasya. My dear Vasya, why are you doing that? Doing what? Why, when people walk past the puddle, are you splashing it? They all get dirty, you understand? You gifted him kindness, now ask him why he does it. If he says, it's funny to me, you should say, let me splash too, then you'll get dirty. If he says, go ahead, then it's fine. He's just a silly little kid having fun. If he says, no, I don't want to, then you should say, well, you see, if you don't like it, why do it to others? I don't wish to be shot at with paint. I took a syringe, filled it, and aimed it at those who were shooting paint so that they wouldn't shoot at me. They were so delighted. As a result, I was all covered in paint. What should I not have done? I should have aimed the syringe at them because they wanted to have a paint fight. Is this evil? I aimed the syringe and confirmed my desire to engage in a paint fight with them. They doused me. Do you understand what I'm talking about or not? If someone wants to quarrel with you and you don't want to, then don't. Walk away. Who is forcing you to engage in a paint fight with them? Ah? He's provoking you. Why do you think you are quarreling? Why are you quarreling with him? This is a good question. There's one thing in relationships. If a person understands it, they will have excellent relationships with everyone. You see, you need to understand one thing. Give people the opportunity to be foolish. Give them that opportunity. Don't think that everyone should understand you. Don't think that all people on earth should act correctly. In this world, the majority of people cannot act correctly in certain situations. Allow people to be foolish. Let me explain this to you. Imagine a little dog is blocking your way. It barks. You walk around it, but it still runs around you barking. It's provoking you. Will you bark back at it or not? Will you? Why? Find the reason. Why won't you bark back at the dog? It's not fair. It's not letting you pass. Who has experienced this? A little dog not letting you pass? Raise your hand. Did you argue with it? Bark back at it? No. And why? Because it's foolish. It's a little dog. You understand? It's silly. Well, why bother with it? It can't comprehend anything. Now, if you notice your loved one's eyes have turned red and their face is contorted in anger, according to the Vedas, this person is no different from that little dog in this moment, because their reason is clouded by anger. It means that at this time you can do whatever you want. For instance, say, I suddenly need to pee, and run to the restroom. The most crucial point, do not interact with a person during their moment of anger. The moment of anger does not last long. Understand, anger fades away inside a person. They might knock on the door, bang their head against the door, and so forth. Well, just wait a little. They are not themselves. And there's no need to jump to conclusions. Why are you banging on my door? During this time, like a little dog, they can't comprehend what they're doing, whether they're knocking or not. They just don't understand. Simply give the person a chance to be foolish. If you allow them this opportunity, everything will eventually get back on track. Let's say a woman gets emotional. My wife, when she is in an emotional state, I pay no attention. She's trying to provoke me at this time. She says, I don't love you. I never wanted to live with you. Marrying you was a huge mistake. What's her objective? She simply wants a reaction from me. That's all. I agree with everything she says. Why do I agree? Because I see in her eyes. You need to see this for yourselves, my friends. That she isn't understanding anything. Zero understanding. The next day she says, you are the best. Thank you for how you handled that. You are the best person in the world. Thank you for ignoring my words. I was just not myself. I didn't understand what I was saying as I was really hurt. That's exactly what you should have realized at that moment, which was to be demonstrated. If she herself confirms what happened, then that's how it is. Or let's say a husband comes home from work and starts yelling right away. He's simply exhausted. Now you might say, he's tired, let him sit down and rest. Stick to his TV and relax. But he does not know that he's tired. He doesn't understand it himself. When a person is tired, someone else is always to blame. He comes in and starts looking for the guilty party. It's very hard to admit that you're simply tired. Immediately it comes to him. What a mess. It's chaos here. Everything is bad. What is this? What's the matter? He arrives and behaves like this. What is love? Look here. Your little child is screaming insolently. Honestly, it's just outrageous the way the child screams. They are stamping their feet, fighting. You're not going to argue with them, right? No, you say, don't pay attention, they're just tired, want to sleep. And you put them to bed. That's called love. Now a bigger child, a bit older, whom you believe can't be so foolish, you just believe in it already. He comes in and starts screaming. He's tired, simply being capricious. And what do you need to do? You just need to understand how human consciousness is structured. Every person can be foolish at some point, and you need to give them the opportunity to be foolish. All problems are solved immediately. If you give such an opportunity in your heart, it means that you are becoming a noble person, a kind person. What do you need to do at this time? Understand that he's become dull for a while. Not that he is completely stupid in life, no. He has just become dull. And understand that you can also become dull at some point. Give a person the right to be out of balance, to be out of sorts. He's just become a bit dull. Imagine, people get divorced because of this. I will never forgive you for this act. And what about yourself? Once, in short, one man. A very interesting event. Listen carefully. How we relate to ourselves and how we relate to others. One man, during a Q&A session, stood in the back with his wife. Oleg Gennadyevich, she blatantly cheated on me and even left me. Left with another man. I say, okay. He says, I prayed. I brought her back. And she returned. Here she is, standing next to me, repenting. I say, cool. Now I can't forgive her. I say, I will help you in a second right now. Really? Help me. I say, this is not about you, but I will just say one very important phrase, and you will immediately find it easy to forgive her. This won't be about you. And I look him in the eyes and say, sometimes people are very much disheartened by the betrayal of a loved one, but at the same time, they are disheartened only because the betrayal has been exposed. And meanwhile, these people themselves secretly cheat. But since the betrayal hasn't been exposed, therefore, there are no guilty parties. But since the betrayal was not discovered, there is no one to blame. Imagine this man looks at me and says, thank you, Oleg Gennadyevich, I feel better. Imagine how we treat ourselves. We are always so good. They cheated on me, and at that time I also cheated. I just saw this and reminded him. He immediately forgave his wife, instantly. You see what interesting people, interesting creatures we are. As soon as we find out that we ourselves are the same, it immediately becomes easier. You need to know this too, how to forgive. Delve into yourself a little and study yourself. It's very difficult to admit to yourself that you're about the same. Leo Tolstoy says, if you want to condemn someone, remember whether you yourself did such things. And if you want to do something to someone, then figure out what it will be like if they do it to you. All issues can be resolved if you think like that. If you yourself did approximately the same thing, why do you condemn a person? But I had such circumstances. They also have such circumstances, you just don't know their circumstances. You know your circumstances, but you don't know theirs. Condemnation always means ignorance of two things. The first thing is ignorance of a person's circumstances, and the second thing is interesting and very useful to everyone. If you judge someone, God will definitely test you in this. It's not necessary that you will lose this test. If you have the internal right to condemn someone for something, be prepared to have the same event in your life. Be prepared for this. If you pass this exam, two things will happen. The first thing, you will no longer judge anyone on this matter. You can punish, but condemn. That's another thing. And the second thing, you will understand the price of defeating fate. Maybe you will pass the test, this may happen, but you will no longer condemn anyone in this matter. Why? Because you will understand how hard it is, you will understand the price. If I judge a loved one and as a result of this judgment, the family is destroyed through my fault, then what should I expect in life? What to expect? The same thing. You say, how can you even live with a person who cheated on you? I agree. Betrayal means it is impossible to build close relationships. Live separately, forgive, pray. As soon as you forgive, accept the person. You will say, is it possible, Oleg Gennadyevich, to forgive a person? Of course, it's possible. Everything can be forgiven in this world. You can forgive anything. Forgiveness means fullness. If you have become stronger than why can't a person forgive? They were dreaming, they had such a dream. I will have such a wife or such a husband, it will be like this. A husband appeared and he promised it, bam, and didn't do it. That's it, now I won't live with him. Why? Because your dream hasn't come true. What does this man have to do with it? Are you sorting things out with what? With your dream? What does this man have to do with it? Let's say you dreamed of getting a son from him, but you ended up with 2 daughters. You want a son, but 3 daughters are born. Again, you want a son, but you have 4 daughters. Raise your hand if this is your case. You judge, no? Is everything okay? So you are reasonable. My dears, there are two types of blessing a person. There is a blessing that gives a blessing, and there is a blessing that gives an action. When God gives 4 daughters, it means that your family needs a blessing, because a woman is a blessing force. She changes everything around thanks to blessings. And daughters always bless their mother and their father. They love them, and the energy of blessing flows through them. Your family needs a blessing. Only boys are born and no girls. It means that your family needs an active force, not a blessing, but an active force is needed in your family, and therefore never condemn God's plans. Let's say you say, I can't get married. What's the matter? Let's imagine that God will give you the opportunity to get married now. What will you say in 5 years? I know for sure you will say, it would have been better if I hadn't got married. And this is true. That's why he doesn't give you a husband. That's the only reason. Why doesn't he give you a husband now? Because it's better not to get married now. That's why God doesn't give anyone. But if you insist, he can give you a man in order to educate you. You must always trust God. Let's say business isn't going well right now. There is no need to feel offended by fate. If business is not going well, then we need to deepen the relationship. Why doesn't God give the opportunity to have money? Let's ask ourselves this question, why? There is no other reason for it but to develop yourself. When God gives money, one does not develop. Try to understand this. And there are people to whom God gives money and they still develop. What does this mean? That God will continue to give money. If money does not interfere with development, there will simply be no bad periods related to finances. But if you relax, then they will. If there is no money now, then what should be done? There is no need to tell God, I am developing, give me money. You just have to develop and wait until the development is sufficient so that you can get your money. That's it. One person in India came up to me and said, what haven't I done in my life that I'm so poor? I answered him, you just haven't developed. He said, it's true. If a person develops, they cannot be poor. Let's assume that a person is developing but still has no money. Is it possible? It is. I know such people. And do you know why a person develops and has no money? Because they received a special blessing from God. These people experience great happiness within themselves, even without money. And even if they eat sparingly, and even if they sleep on the ground, even if they are cold, and even if they are sick, it doesn't matter. They are still self-sufficient and happy. This is the result of self-improvement. And this result is higher, because if God deprived them of wealth as a result of their development, it means that God is preparing them for unearthly wealth. God never deprives one of wealth. But if you see a person who's happy, who's working on themselves, and they don't have money, power, influence, or anything, but they are very happy, know that the Lord is preparing them for a kind of wealth beyond this world, something you've never even dreamt of. Because the biggest blessing one can receive in this world, God takes away all their earthly things and gives them something beyond. Now you'll say, Oleg Gennadievich, I'm not ready for that. Don't worry, he knows, and he won't give it to you. He only gives it to those who are ready, you understand? So don't think like, look, Oleg Gennadievich, I've been working on myself, but still have no money. Well then, happiness must be coming, and I'm still not happy. Then you're probably not growing. There's only one scenario. There are no other options.
Итак, вы чувствуете очень сильную боль, тяжесть сердца. Что делать?
Standing before my own guilt, unable to forgive neither myself nor you. Tell me, Lord, at what cost is the gift of forgiveness given in this world? Standing before my own sorrow, unable to quiet the wailing. Tell me, Lord, at what cost is peace given until the grave? The first thing you need to do, with all your might, is divert your memory from the source of pain, with all your strength, as much as you have. Distract yourself from these thoughts about feeling bad, about hardships, about betrayal, about wanting to turn back time. Stop thinking about it, or you'll completely destroy your life. Detach from the pain in your memory, break away at any cost, with any strength you have. And what helps in this case? Connecting with God helps immensely. Song, continuation. Pray and bow, learn to repent. Pray and bow, learn to repent. Connection with God, you understand? To repent means to admit that you're simply a sinner since God treated you this way. When one feels injustice, they should repent, you understand? They shouldn't say me this, me that. One should repent to understand the reason. If God has shown you grave injustice, there's a reason. You simply don't know it. Start repenting, and you'll see that God will reveal in your heart knowledge about why He treated you this way in life, why He gave you this injustice. There's a reason. Once you discover it, things will get easier for you. So a man couldn't forgive his wife because she betrayed him. He discovered the reason. He himself used to cheat before. He found out why and immediately forgave her. He came up right after the lecture and said, Oleg Gennadievich, I've forgiven her, just like that. She didn't get it. I said, don't worry, she didn't. It's all good. He understood the reason and forgave instantly. That's how this world works. If we knew the reason why we suffer, we'd always forgive. And believe me, you definitely forgive, because if there's a reason, why should I worry? We suffer because of a sense of injustice. Why, we ask? We don't know. It's all right, we can find out. If a person starts to repent, even not knowing the reason, feeling some injustice, you should repent during this time instead of rebelling, then you'll know the reason. When someone repents, God thinks, they're ready for knowledge, and God will give you the understanding in your heart. You'll definitely find out, because nothing in this world happens without a reason. Everything happens for a reason. It's also crucial to know that there are different kinds of prayers. For instance, in Sanskrit, there's a term called kirtanam. Kirtanam means joint prayer. It's a very powerful prayer. Joint prayer is very powerful. It's not like, let's say, there are 3 of us and the prayer is 3 times stronger. It amplifies, you see, there's synergy. So 3 people, they influence your fate 3 times more, and the influence on each one's fate is 3 times stronger. You see, it seems like everyone has their own fate, so what's the use? But it doesn't work that way. When 3 people pray, the influence on your fate is 3 times stronger. And it's the same for every person. That's how God designed it. Also very important that when someone overcomes fate, they have strong faith in the elder and listen intently. This is called Shravanam in Sanskrit. Right now, I'm telling you about the 3 most powerful methods to overcome fate. The first one is called joint prayer. If you've ever taken part in such a prayer, where thousands of people pray together, your heart just bursts with happiness. If you join in this prayer, your heart bursts with happiness. The second is attentive listening to the elders, immersing oneself in their teachings. And the third is to bow down to a holy place, to pay respects to a sacred site. A place where saints lived is called a holy place. It bears the mark of their sanctity. The earth remembers those who lived on it because earth is alive, and when you visit such places where these memories reside, you cleanse your being. That's how it works, if you believe in this holy place and respect it. So you got those 3 things, right? Song, Kirtanam, Shravanam, swallowing the dust of Vrindavan. Kirtanam means joint chanting. Shravanam means attentive listening. Swallowing the dust of Vrindavan means consuming the dust of a holy place. Go and swallow that dust where saints walked. It greatly lightens the heart. If none of what I've just told you works for you, this knowledge doesn't bring relief to your heart. If nature doesn't, if nothing eases your heart, you don't believe in your fate. The closest person, whom you deeply loved, passed away due to a violent death. There are situations that are impossible to accept. My only son, the best person, why was he killed? You see, there are situations that one just can't accept. A person just can't. No philosophy or reflection can ease the pain in the heart. The three things I've mentioned will ease your pain 100%. Just embrace at least one of them. If you find yourself in a place where people genuinely and beautifully pray together, your heart will soar with joy and pain will diminish. It will become weaker. Prayer sounds Anandmurti Guruma, call of a Sufi. Beautiful, isn't it? A powerful prayer? When prayer resonates in the heart, it's a very strong thing. It truly overcomes fate. Remember this, aim for it in your life. Believe that there are divine forces that alleviate suffering. Have faith in that. I experienced an event once. I won't disclose what it was, because then everyone will start writing online. Aha, Oleg Gennadievich, and here it goes. I've been through this before, so I won't talk about it. The event took place many years ago. It plunged me into severe stress. I was stressed for a year and a half, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat properly. I prayed. That is, I already knew in those times how to pray. I was praying, but nothing was happening. Fate did not change. Usually, I overcome fate with prayer. I have enough strength for that. But in that situation, nothing changed. And at some point, I approached the altar, stood in front of the altar and asked very seriously, did you do all of this? That is, I addressed God, and directly in my heart, I received a smile in response. The smile of God. And what did this smile do? It went like this. Whoosh! It removed all the stress in 1 second. So God answered my question. He said, well, of course I did this. But why? To make me grow. My faith got stronger from this event. You understand? Sometimes God himself does something to develop a person. That happens too, but not often. Don't think that your situation is like this. I am so good, and God did this to me. Well, really? Most likely that's not the case. Humility is very important. It helps a lot. Humility, especially in relation to the right person. For instance, if your wife leaves you, who is the most needed person? The mother-in-law is the main person in this case. Listen, mother-in-law, my dear friend, a help. Understand, we are not enemies. By law, if you look at it, we are one family. You're almost a second mother to me. Who is the closest person to a woman? Mother. Remember it. A woman builds very close relationships with everyone, but the closest relationships a woman will always have only with her mother. Always. Deep in her heart. In most cases. There are exceptions though. But even if these are not close relationships, they are too close, and therefore they become unhealthy. That happens too, but still for a woman, her mother is the most sacred thing to her. And if a wife has left, then go the mother-in-law. If you can overcome the relationship with her, the wife will return, 100%.
Lecturer, what if the husband left? Who can help you? His mother, lecturer. You have such a straightforward logic.
If the husband left and he has a mentor, then only his mentor can help you. And if not, then his closest, dearest friend. If you prove to his friend that you want him to return, then you will do everything that can be done to bring your husband back. Because he will only listen to his friend, and the friend will talk to him very seriously. And it will really work just as a mother can talk very kindly with great love to her daughter. A woman does not need seriousness, she needs only love. She won't listen to any serious talks, do you understand? But if the mother talks to her kindly, with love, her heart will melt and she will say, I won't go back to him, but I forgive him. And what needs to be done next? Next, the mother simply needs to make sure they meet in her presence. They will talk, and then they will stay together. That's how a mother can bring them back together. If the man understands who to turn to, if he behaves persistently,
Мать отвечает.
It's not a big deal. If the mother-in-law refuses, you need to persistently go again. If she sees that you're properly set up, then if it is possible to return your wife, she will return. Well, plus of course God, you should also pray to God. And to whom should you not go when a wife has left in order to get her back? To whom should you not go? You should not go to your wife. It will only make things worse. Because when a woman leaves, it means she drops out of the relationship for at least 3 months, or maybe even for half a year. Why? Because a woman builds relationships very tightly, very deeply and strongly. And then she endures for a very long time. And when she leaves, even if she wants to return back, she needs 3 months to half a year for this return. Just to forgive the person, just to get used to the thought that she will have to live with him, she needs half a year. Do you understand? To think about it. Because when a woman leaves, she breaks herself significantly. That is, she endures for a long time. In other words, it takes her a long time to recover. In other words, if, let's say, your wife left, and you see that she is treating you well but not coming back, one should not jump to conclusions. Some men jump to conclusions and instantly find themselves another woman. Wait, don't hurry. Give her time to collect herself. She will take some time to recover. And during this time, fear not, she won't find anyone else. Because a woman, feeling down, cannot build relationships. She will just be recovering. You just wait a little. When she recovers, you can win her back. If you are patient, she sees it, she appreciates it, she truly appreciates it. Even though she acts as if she will never return, she might say during this time, I will never come back to you. Do you know in what case a woman will definitely never return? Let's say you came to her and said, come back. Do you know in what case she will definitely never return to you? When she doesn't talk to you at all, just ignores you and leaves. This means that most likely there is nothing you can do. But if she tells you, I will never return to you, what does this mean? It means that she is taking revenge on you. You have to accept this. A man, a true man, a strong man who behaves correctly, he can win back any woman, except for the case when a woman doesn't talk at all. He can win back any woman, absolutely any. You just have to understand the principle of what a woman wants from a man. If he behaves nobly, if she says, I will never return to you, he says, yes, yes, I understand, and comes again. And she says, well, what, didn't you hear? I told you that I would never return to you. And he says, all right, I heard, everything is fine. She, then why did you come? He, I want you to come back. I want you to come back. What arises inside a woman at this moment? Ladies, what's going on inside of you at this time? A feeling, maybe I'll return, but I won't tell him. He comes again. You say, I will never come back to you. And he says, it's not a problem. Imagine what a cool man he is, isn't he, ladies? Do you like this approach or not? Now, you told him, I will never come back to you, and he sours. That's all. Why would I need him? Goodbye. If a man doesn't sour, all women are happy. Or a man is courting a woman, let's say. She doesn't love him at all. But he's so cheerful, happy, always gives flowers, takes care. She has absolutely no feelings. If he's persistent, a strong person like that, then she also won't be able to do anything with herself. She'll think, I can't do anything. I'll have to marry him. Why? Because she just can't refuse such a person. Such a cool person he is. He's persistent, joyful, always courting. It's impossible to get rid of him. Cool, right? You need to know how to behave. If you know, then everything in your life will be cool. It's also important to know how a person should behave in order to be forgiven, to be accepted. How should a woman behave herself so that a man accepts and forgives her? So how should she act? Acting this way is really tough, but you should at least know. A man who behaves as the song describes is unshakable. You can't do anything about him. If a man is optimistic, forgives his woman, tolerates her whims, she throws sharp words at him, but he ignores, This means you can't shake off such a man. Gentlemen, did you hear me or not? A woman throws tantrums, behaves poorly, and yet you stay noble and joyous beside her. You're fulfilled. You're a strong person. It's impossible to push you away. Who gets pushed away? Only the offended and unhappy men. You got hurt, got upset. Those are your issues. You should say, it's all ahead. When a man behaves like this, isn't it great? Women think, I can ponder on this topic. But if he's sour, then there's nothing to think about, it's clear. How should a woman behave to always be the winner in relationships? She should be modest, shy, kind, gentle, and strong all at the same time. You should act modestly, shyly, and then give a strong look. When a woman looks with a strong gaze, what happens to a man? There's a change in his heart. She's so modest, but she gave him a strong look. A strong look means, you won't achieve anything with me. A woman's strong look means, I'm out of your league, you can't reach me. That's how she should look. She's modest, kind, smiles at him, and then gives him a strong look. If a girl has lost herself and can't look at him this way, she's lost him. Goodbye. If the husband decided to leave, what should you do? Oh, don't go. You shouldn't do that. Don't beg. What's the next option? Well, leave then is also not an option. What to do? You should distract yourself from this and become self-sufficient and strong. I will now tell you an amazing story. A husband is not just leaving, he is blatantly cheating. And the girl is very strong. I am telling you about unusual situations. She starts to pray fervently, working on herself. And at some point she finds peace in her heart, walks beside him very humbly, softly, looks at him strongly and smiles. And he immediately says, why are you smiling? She tells him, probably for the same reason as you. He says, I am smiling because I have love. And she says, love isn't just for you to have. What do you think will be the outcome in this case? He says, I don't understand. We have children after all. You see, and he himself is leaving his wife. He says, I don't understand. We have children after all. She says, so what? Love is above all. That is, she starts playing his game. And how does she do it? Very powerfully, although she doesn't have anyone. She simply loves God, has found support in the Lord, and behaves accordingly. As a result, what happened? He couldn't bring himself to leave her. Because one must protect his wife from other men, there was no time for infidelity. Imagine such a situation. My wife fell in love with someone else. Unbelievable. My wife. What's the result? Preservation of the family. You see, it all depends on you. If you have the inner strength to detach from the problem, become self-sufficient, become fulfilled, clear your relationship so that the connection between you becomes pure, then you've done your job. From there on, walk boldly forward. There's nothing to be afraid of. Everything else will fall into place on its own. But if you are fixated on a person, constantly think about them, lose yourself. Well, this means that you have a stingy heart. A stingy heart doesn't give you the opportunity to detach from the problem. A stingy heart constantly says, I want this one, I want this flower, I don't want any other. And now I don't need this one anymore because it has been used by someone else. Think about this. To what extent is your heart capable of being happy alongside your own destiny? And you don't yet know what your destiny is. It could be anything. I'll tell you a story that just came to mind so you know how it can be. One man survived more than a dozen concentration camps and remained alive. Then they put him on a barge to drown it along with all the prisoners who were there, and he simply prayed all that time. They didn't manage to sink this barge. Reinforcements came and they freed him. But that's not the whole story about this man. This man went through all this at a young age. When the war ended, he was 33 years old. And at this age, he started doing gymnastics and won 5 gold medals. Starting gymnastics at 33. People start at 10, 8, 7, 5 years old and then achieve success. He achieved all of this in just 2 years. I'm just telling you about people. If someone has survived more than 10 concentration camps, then what's next for them? They would just be a walking corpse. And this man became a world champion. Can you imagine? I'm just giving an example so you know what people can be like. Don't think that something is impossible. Being in a concentration camp means impossible. In fact, anything is possible if you have the right mood in your heart. A person who gives up facing their fate loses to it. Let's take an example. Suppose you go to a doctor and the doctor tells you your joint disease is incurable and there's nothing you can do. You'll have injections all your life. I have a question for you. Imagine this situation for yourself. Now, if you believe that doctor, get ready to face the end because you've surrendered to your fate, which means you'll soon pass away. I'm telling you 100% for sure. If you say to yourself, I don't believe it, you start defeating fate. Anyone can overcome anything, even if they have stage 4 cancer and they don't give up. And if their body isn't capable of healing that disease, people who even in this situation try to overcome fate, they receive knowledge that they are an eternal soul. And when leaving their body, they think of God. They achieve liberation from all material suffering. As a result, you can overcome fate in this life, or you can completely defeat it. A couple of days ago, an elderly woman in her 80s passed away, deeply focused on God. I looked in my memory to see where she went, and saw that she seems to have been freed from material existence, receiving a spiritual body and moving to the spiritual world. There's no suffering there, no death, no old age. Can you imagine how some people depart this life? Hence, even death itself isn't a problem for those who have defeated it. But you have to defeat it in this life, and it's done through faith, through pure, bright emotions, through joy, not through feelings of sorrow or sadness. Grief, melancholy, sadness, resentment means you've lost to fate, and it only means one thing. You simply don't have the strength to detach from the problem and recharge yourself. It means your heart is stingy, it doesn't want to, it's being cranky. It says, I only want to be happy this way and that's it. One man was absolutely 100% sure that the person who left him was the best and that there couldn't be any other options in his destiny. He was just 100% sure, you know? But when God gave him another person, he was very much surprised by it. Do you know why God gave him someone else? Because he perked up. Even though he felt deep down that he'd never find someone better for himself, he still chose to live, at least for God. He began to pray and dedicated his life to God. And at that moment, not only did he find God, but he also found a much better wife for himself. Got it? If you think there can't be anything better in your life, that's just your fabrication. Let me reiterate, even on their deathbed, someone can receive more than we can ever imagine. But sometimes it doesn't play out that way. When I lived in India at a young age, at the age of 28, I went to the holy place to work in a hospice. A hospice is a place where people pass away. It was a holy place, and deeply religious people came there to pass away. I witnessed many interesting stories there. Let me share one of them with you now. A young woman in her early 20s came there. I don't recall her exact age. She had leukemia. Do you know what leukemia is? Especially at such a young age, it's to be dealt a bad hand. It's a disease where one lives normally until the next release of leukocytes into the blood. This further release of leukocytes into the bloodstream greatly reduces the amount of oxygen in the blood. At some point, due to such a release, a person can just die, and so she lived like this. So what did she do? She stopped her treatments and came to the hospice to pass away. She gave up on treatment. She spent her days outside, breathing in the fresh air and chanting a prayer. She became happy, full of life, loving everyone, always smiling. She was smiling all the time, looking happy, as if she wasn't sick at all. She just loved everyone, smiled at everyone, constantly prayed, and accepted her fate, accepted death. As a result, and I saw it with my own eyes, at one point she began to bloom. I said, "Look at yourself, you've become quite charming." She replied, "I don't know, I don't think about it." And she kept praying. Half a year later, she approached me and said, "My symptoms have stopped." I told her, let's get a blood test. She pondered, then went and got tested. No signs of leukemia, but that's not the whole story. Just a couple of weeks after that, she met an exalted man and married him. I mean, she came there to die and passed her test there. If one passes their test, why should they die? They should keep on living. God gifted her a new life. Such things do happen. There are other instances when people die in the holy place with a smile on their face and a glow emanates from their face at the moment of death. And this too signifies a new life, because a person lives forever, you understand? Our bodies constantly change. We were once small. Now we're grown-ups. The body changed. I'm the same person, just in a different body. Similarly, when someone gets a new body after the death of the previous one, the person doesn't vanish. Life has an eternal nature. So overcome your fate. No need to be sour. There are other cases too. A good acquaintance of mine learned to pray from me. He did a lot of good in life and helped me a lot. He had an issue. His son was an addict and he loved his son deeply. And he'd ask, how long should I pray? He kept asking me. I told him, keep praying. Let's continue. Everything's okay. It's a process. He kept praying and praying. But his son didn't stop being an addict. So what does this man do? He writes a note saying, God doesn't hear me, and commits suicide. He ends his life by suicide. A normal result. This means that in the next life, he will have to answer for this action. We live eternally, you understand? And if you killed yourself, it means you would have to answer for it. So, we have only one option, you understand? It's to take our exams. Don't wait for everything to end. When will my bad period end, Oleg Gennadievich? Sometimes I want to say never. That's how I want to answer this question. Why? Because it's a wrong question. A person must overcome their fate, not wait for everything to end. Don't be stingy. Overcome the destiny, and then everything will end. So, how do we conquer resentment? Resentment means a lack of happiness in the heart. It is conquered through distraction from the problem, with the help of deep prayer, deep contact with nature, deep contact with kind people. When your happiness in relationships with these people becomes higher than the resentment, when this resentment area is filled in your heart, at that moment the resentment passes. This is how a person gets rid of resentment. How to get rid of a feeling of doom. A feeling of doom means your faith has been trampled. To get rid of a feeling of doom, you need to find a higher faith, because high faith cannot be trampled. Faith in God cannot be trampled, you understand? No one can destroy faith in God. No one can be stronger than faith in God. No one can be stronger than God, you understand? A relationship with God gives a person immense strength, immense power, immense knowledge, and in this case, a person's life truly becomes happy. Truly happy. Because even a tough period doesn't overshadow this life. A person overcomes a tough period with the help of God. And living as God desires also brings immense happiness. Believe me, my dear friends. Ahead there is a bright path if we go hand in hand. Please grasp this phrase of mine. Please do. Because God will grant you happiness. Happiness emanates from God. Happiness flows straight from the heart. Do you know where happiness resides? Right here in the chest it lives. Remember, happiness belongs to God. He is the one who gives it to you. When you manage to live together, He will grant you the happiness of living together as a reward. You will see this happiness. You thought that happiness was to be blissfully happy near your loved one. Happiness is feeling how we've journeyed through this life together. A clear and bright memory of how a person stood by you, remained with you, didn't abandon you. This clear and bright memory of how we managed to live life together is the happiness you're waiting for. But you will receive this happiness as a reward from God. I've received a little of it already. I'll tell you why. Because many girls really love listening to my lectures, and even very beautiful ones. Not just beautiful, but very beautiful. You see, and I stay with my wife through all of this. And since I made such a choice, God gave me this feeling. He said, well done. You have a bright road ahead if you go hand in hand. He gave me this feeling, believe it or not. I also pass on to you everything that God gives me. I give it to you. When I was flying here on the airplane, I noticed a certain Eastern girl. I thought, what a kind girl with such very kind eyes. Is she here, this girl? Raise your hand, the one who was on the airplane with me. She came up to me after the flight when we had already landed. She said, are you Oleg Gennadievich? I said, yes. Do you realize how lucky I am? I thought what I had told you. Lucky means kind eyes directed at you. That's being lucky. It doesn't have to be some popular person, just a kind person. That really means being lucky. In life, you're really lucky if there is just a kind person in your life whose eyes are directed at you. Know that for such a kind person to appear in your life, you have to sacrifice something for it. Sacrifice your life for a person. And the person will become very kind to you, I am telling you exactly. Song. And when I say goodbye to you and stroke your palm lovingly, don't believe it. I'm returning. I am going from you and back to you. I look at you as if in a mirror until I'm dizzy, and I see my love in it, and I think about it. Not see the petty in the mirror reflection. Love can be long and life even longer. Prove to your fate that you are worthy of this, and you will receive it. What questions do you, my good friends, have for me? Your question about the lecture, I hope? Let's talk about the lecture now, the rest will be later. We need a microphone. Is the organizer here?
Thank you very much for coming. I have been listening to your lectures for several months, and here you are coming, lecturer. I was drawn to you. I am telling you exactly.
I recently went to Poland, although I did not want to go there. A girl came up to me asking if I wanted to go to Poland. I said secretly, no.
She says, I drew you there, so it means I drew you here. Well, how could I not come? Tell me, how is that possible? I have a question about the lecture. It is said that one needs to submit to a person, humble oneself, or surrender to their will, serve them, so that they may change or become a different person. Should one do this or not?
No, this is not what is meant by submitting to someone's will. A will can be varied. You should not submit to another's will. You simply need to accept the person.
Accept, lecturer. Yes, let's say he is foolish, but this does not mean you should submit to his will.
Suppose he says, will you go into fire for me? And she goes into fire. Oleg Gennadievich said to submit to his will. No, that's wrong. Or he says, let's engage in some sinful activity. She says, let's, because I have submitted to his will. That's incorrect. Or he says, let's have another wife. You are submitting to his will. No, this is wrong. You don't always have to submit to a person's will. You simply have to accept him. Let's say he says, let's have a second wife. You should not be offended. Because if you are offended, it means you have lost the person. In this case, there is some force that makes him speak like this. And you simply, if you are not able to cope with this force right now, then apologize. Say, for instance, what second wife at all? And hit him on the head. Give him a good talking to. Suppose he says, I will not live with you. You should apologize. Say, I am sorry. Why? Why are you apologizing? You are apologizing because you did not restrain yourself, because you did not manage to control yourself at that time. Not because you are in the wrong, but because you should not have behaved like that. That's why you apologize. This is what is called accepting a person, you understand? So the person said something foolish, really something that I can't tolerate right now. But later you should pray, endure this foolishness, and understand that all people are foolish. Sometimes they say foolish words. Accept the person. Now I'll explain. Why should I accept a person who is so foolish? I'll explain now. Why? To make him better. The moment you accept him, you are accepting the person. And at that very moment, you are giving him knowledge straight into his heart. As soon as he gets accepted, he begins to get better. He begins to understand. If you have accepted him, it means he has already become better.
Lecturer, I am talking about this. May I ask a question, lecturer? Yes, the question is about the fact that I have a strong desire to leave my job.
Well, there's nothing terrible. Work is not such an important thing for a woman. She is tired at work. She thinks, I will not work here anymore. Nothing terrible. Go to another one.
I feel like quitting it. I've been in a cast for 2 months at home. They almost took the cast off my leg recently, and I still tell myself I need to go to work, but everyone around tells me. They say, sit tight and don't move, stay at home, and I'm still like, I need to go to work.
I didn't understand anything. Do you want to quit your job or do you want to go to work?
I want to quit. I really don't know anymore, and I probably can't do without a job or something like that.
A woman, a real woman, imagine, can do without a job. A real woman, she can visit a friend and say, hey, I'm so glad to see you. The friend will say, come in, let's eat. She'll feed you. Then you go to another friend, cheer her up, and she feeds you too. You've eaten well today, live in peace.
It's just that my husband doesn't support me in this direction. Lecturer, and you have a husband? Yes, a husband. Lecturer, then why worry at all? He doesn't support me in this direction. Lecturer, in which direction? To stay at home. He says I will degenerate without a job.
He is right. A woman who has no children and no job, she degenerates. She has nothing to do. She becomes lazy. If a woman has nothing to do, she gets used to it and that's it. Then it's the end. Completely. You can't make her go to work because she immediately feels bad there.
Lecturer, the only thing left is to have children. That's it, no other options. Here's the second question, it's also about this. We can't manage to have children. Lecturer, so you need to get treated. You have heat in your appendages, you are a bit overheated. Not me. There are medical indications for him. I'm fine. Lecturer, so it turns out it's all his fault. I understand, of course, maybe it's not just. Lecturer, and I say it's you. I doubt it. Lecturer, and I say it's you. Me? Lecturer, yes, seriously? Lecturer, yes. Does that mean doctors are wrong? Lecturer, number, they are right about him.
They are also right about him. You both need to do something. So he needs to start running because his sperm is stagnant.
Lecturer, everything is stagnant there, you understand? He needs to start running. He doesn't want to. He stays at home.
Yes, that's a different question. Sit down. Wait, I haven't finished talking to her yet. You see, you need to go to a pool. You need raw vegetables. You are overheated, meaning you are experiencing overheating. And he just needs to run and he will get better. Both of you have a problem. Now you will say he doesn't want to run. Everything can be changed in this respect. My wife also didn't want to run, do anything at all. She's a woman. Her body is lazy. I started running, doing exercises and everything else. And I always joyfully told my wife, I ran today. And nothing more. Because when you behave like this, a time comes, and in the heart of a dear one, especially when they start feeling unwell, a strong desire emerges to overcome the laziness of the body. The time has come, and this desire has become so strong that she started to move, to run, to do exercises. That's it. It's a matter of time. Well, several years have passed, and this is how she started to live. But now it won't change anymore because she's broken through. Do you understand? That's how you should always change a dear one. Just wait a little bit. You will start living right yourself. In due time, he will also start living right. It's inevitable. Just as the sun rises, all shadows disappear. Shadows are ignorance in a person's heart. The Vedas compare the sun to consciousness and shadows to ignorance. If the sun of knowledge rises in your heart, then all the shadows of ignorance and foolishness in the heart of your dear one will definitely disappear. Because one person influences another. There's an invisible thread between you two. You are connected to him. You understand. Become better yourself, and he will become better too. We will talk about this tomorrow. Your question, young lady.
I wanted to ask a question. I got many answers today, but one question bothers me.
Please sit down, because when a person is sitting, it's easier for them to listen.
Well, one question really bothers me. Why does my mom not want to accept my husband? Lecturer, is your mom here? No, she's not here. I mean in this city, but not in this hall. And I feel like my life is not working out because my mom is not letting go of me. Lecturer, yes, that's true. You need to prove it to her. I want to know, why is she not letting go?
because she wanted another man for you. And her wish did not come true, simply, and she is in shock, in short.
But it's my choice, and what should I do now, lecturer? Well, here's the thing, she doesn't understand this. When a person loves someone very much, they become blind.
She does not understand that this is your choice. This is your life, your destiny. She doesn't get it. I've told you, if you recognize the foolishness of a dear one and are not surprised by it, life becomes easy. Just accept that mom cannot understand this, and that's it. Her behavior towards him should be calmly accepted. And wait, the time will come, and she will understand everything.
Lecturer, your question, yes. May I remain seated? Oleg Gennadievich, thank you for the lecture. I've highlighted a lot for myself. I've listened to your lectures before. My husband used to work on business trips as an engineer at construction sites, and several years ago, he got involved with another woman.
But I didn't know about it. I trusted him. I had no idea about this. When I found out, it was a shock for me. The reason is not that he was on business trips.
I also travel for work. Yes, I understand.
But I don't get involved with other women.
I meet many women, but my relationships with them are different. Yes, thank you.
The reason lies in the fact that you didn't dedicate yourself enough to God, because a man's conscience signifies a woman's faith in her heart. Remember, if you have a strong faith in God, your husband will develop a strong conscience, and only a strong conscience can enable a man to resist the temptation to have another woman.
Only conscience. Conscience is God in a person's heart. So if God resides in your heart, if you truly believe in him, then God will also reside in your husband's heart. It won't happen anymore because he died.
He has not died. He has left this body. I see your husband. He is alive. I can even tell you one of his character traits to prove to you that I see him. He had such a character trait that if he decided something, it was impossible to dissuade him.
Right, yes, that's true.
So if he made a decision, that was final, right? He was very principled on certain issues.
What is your question? When he died?
He didn't die. He departed this life.
When he was leaving his body, he was far from home. Was he thinking about us? Lecturer, do you want to know if he was thinking about you? Yes. Why didn't he want to see his grandson who was born? Lecturer, he was ashamed. Was he thinking about you? He thought about you a lot and regretted deeply. Yes, thank you. Lecturer, really, do you believe it? Yes, lecturer, then it's true. That's how I see it.
And you also saw it that way, but others didn't see it. They might think I am just comforting you.
Speaker, I asked this question for their sake. Thank you, knowing this was very important to me.
Someone thought that I sensed these moments. Whoever thought this, raise your hands. Nothing to worry about. It's completely normal. All people are inherently good. Well, they may make mistakes sometimes, but at the moment of death, everything becomes clear in a person's heart, and they return to their true selves. You asked me this question because you believed he was a good person. You saw this purity in him and wondered how such a good person could commit such an act. I will explain. Every person is capable of any act because we often can't cope with ourselves.
Speaker, and if a person does not manage to control themselves, it does not mean they are bad. Don't be disappointed in people. But why did he lie to me?
Because he was weak. He didn't have the strength to tell the truth because he held you in high regard, and he told you so. He saw you as a very pure person, so conscientious, and he was ashamed in front of you, just ashamed of what he was doing.
But he told me the opposite, that I am a woman who does not deserve respect, no sympathy, that I should be torn apart.
Well, that means he was saying things opposite to what he actually thought.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Sometimes men behave this way, you understand?
He was fighting against your purity in that way. He tried to tarnish you because he was not worthy of you. But you passed your tests.
My dear loved ones, it's time to finish. They've written to me.
Because it's already time. 3 hours have passed, we didn't notice. After the lecture, we will continue to communicate in a small circle. Sit up straight now. We are going to have a prayerful attunement. Now we will be all together overcoming fate. How do we do that? I will explain to those of you who come for the first time quite simply. Now I will turn on this very powerful zigger that was recently sent to me. and we will strongly repeat, tuning into this wave. I wish happiness to all. There is a prayer, there is a prayerful mood. When people repeat, I wish happiness to all, they kind of resonate with the prayer, because here are people of different faiths, and we won't be repeating everyone's personal prayer. But I wish happiness to all, everyone can repeat. And when we repeat, I wish happiness to all, we resonate with the power. And we overcome fate, even if suppose you are Christians, and this is a Muslim prayer. It's all right, God is one. He is the same everywhere and loves everyone. He just gives different faiths to people according to their inclinations, views, and character. So we just listen to the Muslim prayer here because this is a Muslim country. And we repeat, I wish happiness to all, think of God, and the Lord will think of us. Do not think about your life. Do not think about your loved ones. Just think about how people chant prayers, thank them, wish happiness to all. Distract yourself from yourself, and at that moment, the Lord will enter your heart to help you. As long as you yourself reign in your heart, wanting to help yourself, God cannot enter there. But if you have forgotten about yourself and wish happiness to everyone, at that moment, He will enter. That's how it works. The prayer sounds, I wish happiness to all. Thank you very much. I wish you all happiness, knowledge, love, all the brightest in your life. I'm very grateful to you for being with me all this time, for bearing my words. Thank you.